start the workshop now, given that I think most people have joined. All right, so welcome everyone. Today the topic of this workshop is going to be React, and React is the most powerful front-end framework in the world. I guess that's a little bit debatable, but I think most front-end engineers would agree with me in saying that React is the most powerful front-end framework in the world. So super interesting, and let's get started. So first, I just want to talk about React info, like what is React, where does it come from, who made it, all that good jazz. So let's get into it. All right, so what is React? So it's a powerful front-end framework, as I mentioned. It's super modernized. It came out in 2013, which, believe it or not, is fairly recent for a front-end framework. It's pretty easy to learn. It's much easier to learn than the competing frameworks of Angular and Vue, which makes it a great option for beginners to learn. The modernization is also another great reason for beginners to learn it. And another thing is that there's a lot of demand in the job market right now for React. So it's a super good framework to learn if you want to get a job. That being said, React does take some time to learn, obviously, and you need to get good at it to get a job. But if you're good at it, trust me, it's super easy to get a job with it. What else? Oh yeah, React's also made by Facebook, so that makes it pretty, what's the word? I don't know, credible, I guess, as a framework. Yeah, that's how I describe it. On the contrary, other frameworks, I know Angular is made by Google, but we like Facebook, so React is the choice. How does it work? Okay, so basically, in a website, you have certain elements to that website. You have the header, you have the footer, you have an image, maybe you have some text, a pop-up. You have all these different elements, and essentially those elements can also be thought of as components, right? Like different components to a website that make the website, right? And in React, what you do is you build reusable components, reusable elements, essentially, that can be reused as many times as you want. So you can make reusable components that are basically reusable elements, and you can just use that said component as much as you want to. So for example, you could have a button component, you could have a header component, you could have a footer component, like these sorts of things. And in theory, if you wanted to, you could literally type header component, header component, header component 1,000 times, and you get 1,000 different header components. And in that sense, it's really neat. Another thing is you can have components in components. So for example, in a header component, you can have a bunch of different link components. And that's actually pretty common in React to have components in components. And another thing is you don't even have to build the components yourself. So there are component libraries out there such as Material UI and React Shards, and you can literally essentially copy and paste other people's components, stylize them to your needs, and it's so much less work if you want to go that route, or if you want a consistent design of components in your website, you can always use those libraries. That being said, I don't recommend you use component libraries until you learn how the components work themselves, by actually writing code, because it's really important to understand how they work so that you become a good React engineer. You combine these components to make websites, kind of like how you combine a bunch of different elements to make a website. What else? Oh yeah. You can store user data in something called state. And we won't actually get into that. We won't get into that today, but I just kind of wanted to mention that. So you could explore it yourself later if you want to. It's a really fascinating concept. Just adding on to that a little bit. There's also something called state containers, which you can look into if you'd like. All right, so let's get started in actually writing some React code. All right, so I'm just gonna open VS Code. So basically, okay, just ignore this for now. Yeah, just read this irrelevant tab. All right, so what you're gonna want to do, okay, so this isn't really gonna be a follow along workshop. I'm just gonna tell you like how to actually access React after the workshop. So what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to download React, and then you're gonna want to download something called Create React App. And Create React App it's something called it's something that does it basically functions as like how do I describe it? It downloads a bunch of stuff you need, and it makes your life a whole lot easier. So you're gonna want to create React App as well. Actually, change of plans. I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to try to download it if you really want to follow the workshop. So yeah, let's just do that. I'll come back at like 3:13. So just a reminder, you're gonna want a code editor. So I'm assuming you guys will have that. Download React and then download Create React App, and from there I'll walk you through how to actually start coding in React. All right, so does anyone need a bit more time to get React set up to say something in like the Wev Dev talk channel? No one? Okay, that's good. In that case, what you're going to want to do is cd, once you have React and Create React app installed, cd into your directory, type this command in, npx create React app, and then whatever you want your app to be called. You can just use my app if you don't have a name. You're going to want to cd into whatever you called your app, and then you say yarn start, or you can also do npm start. Just whatever your package manager is, you're going to want to start it with that. I'll give you guys like another couple minutes to do that. All right. Let's see. Oh, really, Andrew? I didn't know you could do that. Interesting. Yeah. So as Andrew said in the Web Dev Talk thing, our channel, you can get, use React.js in a replit. I don't know if you can run Create React app though, so you might not be able to follow along with what we're doing. Given that there's additional setup for React without Create React app, which is like why Create React app is so helpful. Anyways, so yeah, just follow along because we'll be getting started. So once you do that, you'll get this page with a bunch of files in it, or not page. You'll get this like, if you open this in VS Code, you'll get a bunch of files. And what you're gonna want to do here, I'll just delete this for now, actually. All right, so basically you'll get this function app thing, and just delete everything in there. I'm just gonna open this real quick. So I'll open. Okay, so this is giving me an error right now because I deleted everything in the app file, like in this return statement. Yeah, normally you just get this like default React page, but if you delete everything in the app thing, you'll just get an error instead. I'm just gonna go over like the component structure now and basically everything that should be going on in your app component. So first of all, this app.js thing is a component. Like whatever you write in here is gonna be a component. You have your import statements, and right now, app is a functional component. So there's also something called a class component, but we won't get into that today. So you have function, app, and for now, just ignore these two curly brackets. I'll explain them soon. And then anything inside these curly braces right here is in the component. And anything in this return, in the return brackets, is going to be returned. So pretty simple. And then you're going to want an export statement as well. Export default, whatever your component name is right here. And now let's create a component. So let's call our component, let's call it hello.js. And let's delete this hi.js. I was just running that earlier. So basically, if you want to create a component, it's the exact same structure as the app. So you're going to want to say function, function, and you're going to want to name your component whatever you name the file. So in this case, it's hello with the brackets and the curly braces, and then return. Let's just return h1 of, let's say, hi or hello. And when that's done, just put a colon there for formatting. And you're going to want to say export default hello, which is what we named our component, just like what we did in our app component. And now that our component, now that the component we just created is exported, we're also going to want to import it into our app. So import hello from ./hello. And now what you'll see is that we can basically write the hello component like a self-closing tag. And if you look at our screen, that wasn't supposed to happen. There we go. If you got that error before, just refresh. It happens sometimes. You'll get hello. So that's pretty awesome. If we go to our hello component, let's write like an H2 saying Bob. Hello and then Bob. And what you'll notice is that you get this error saying adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. So what does this mean? Well, basically, in a component in React, whenever you're returning more than one element, you have to wrap everything you're returning in a div. So let's just do that. And as you can see, now we have hello Bob successfully on our screen. So now I want to explain what props are, okay? And we're going to be looking at these brackets right here beside our component name in our component. So essentially what we can do is we can pass these things called props into our component, which can be rendered conditionally. So let me just demonstrate and show you guys how it works. So what you're going to do is put props inside of these brackets beside your component name, and put something like name here, name equals Bob, and then inside this H2, put props.name. I'm going to be explaining everything I'm doing in a second. And as you can see, we'll get the exact same thing. So what on earth did I do? Okay, so props are things that you can pass into your component that you can render, right? So the way you do that is you literally just write props inside these brackets, and now you can put props inside of the component, like name equals something, age equals, something as well. And they'll essentially all be stored in this props variable, or in this like props thing, right? So yeah, you put a bunch of like variable things here, name equals this, age equals this, etc., and they'll all be rendered in this props thing. And then what you can do is you can return them inside of your component. So you can say props.name, and we've passed in name as a prop equal to Bob, which is why this will show Bob. If we change this to like Dylan or something, it'll show hello Dylan. So just to recap, we're telling the component that we have props being passed in by saying props inside of these inside these brackets, and then we're telling our component to display props.name as whatever is inside the H2. And props, like here's all the props. The name prop is equal to Dylan, which is why it says hello Dylan. Essentially, the reason that props.name is surrounded by curly braces is because in React, you don't have a separate HTML file. You just have this one file that has all of your HTML and JSX and JS code, JavaScript code. And when we combine those two, it kind of creates this new language that isn't really too hard to learn, called JSX. And in JSX, in the return statement of our component in JSX, whenever we have something that isn't HTML, it needs to be wrapped inside of curly braces. And given that props.name is not valid HTML, we have to wrap it in curly braces since it's not HTML and it's JavaScript. And we can pass in other props. So using the exact same logic here, age equals 16 in curly braces, since actually I'm not like 100% sure about this one, but any numbers need to also be wrapped in curly braces inside of a return statement. I think it counts as JavaScript or something. So we can kind of extend this a little bit now that we have an age prop. We can say something like hello props, if I can spell it correctly, props.name. You are props.age years old. So we already have, like, just make this a smiley face for now. We already have the name prop and the age prop set here. The name being Dylan, the age being 16. So if we run that, we just get, hello, Dylan, you are 16 years old, with a nice smiley face. That's basically all I want to cover in terms of actual coding. Just because React is kind of, well, it's a lot to take in, given that it is somewhat similar to a new language. And if you don't have the best JavaScript skills, it can also be harder to grasp. So I just kind of want to leave you with this introduction for React. Just like a little bit of code for today. Just going back to the presentation, there's a few final thoughts that I want to cover. So once you've mastered the basics of React, how are you supposed to expand your knowledge further? Well, the number one way to do that with any programming language or any framework or library in general is just to build projects with it. That is like the number one tip that you should always be doing. This is kind of on a side note. If you want to expand your kind of React repertoire a little bit, use TypeScript. It's more modernized. TypeScript is basically JavaScript that has a few extra changes that make it seem more modernized to, I don't know, it just seems like more modernized as a file type, and employers like it too, so you can use TypeScript. Check out other React libraries, Context API for state management, like as a state container if you get there. Don't use Redux, it's garbage. I mean, you can find out why yourself, but I don't really recommend it. Material UI and Shards React were the component libraries I was talking about earlier. And really importantly, use the documentation to keep learning. So today I just tried to cover Hello World and introducing JSX. Really quickly, this code's really messy. Like, this is just raw React without Create React App. You can just do Hello World the way I taught you today. It's just a lot easier and less messy. But other than that, I basically covered Hello World and introducing JSX today. Let's see. Rendering. Yeah, and then like you can look at other main concepts, rendering elements, components, and props. I think I've covered I've covered components and props as well. There's plenty more to look at for React, which is really, really interesting stuff. So yeah, definitely check out the documentation. That's it for this workshop, guys. It's pretty short just because there's a lot to take in. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the workshop. I hope it didn't scare you or anything. But yeah, definitely expand your React knowledge. It's really helpful. It's a really helpful framework to learn. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a nice day.
I'm Mr. Star.